Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan, and yesterday Creative Assembly had another rally point. This is a small 3-question interview that they normally post on social media, which this time they interviewed a person known as Naomi, and that's the lead character artist in Total War Warhammer 3. Now they also had a proper interview. This was a community-led interview on the official Discord. This happens usually often after a rally point happens, and yeah, I want to talk about the specifics, mostly just like a highlights video of the important stuff, or at least what I deem important there, just to, you know, talk about it, and maybe we can get some context regarding some things. So yeah, let's begin. Naturally, I won't be going over every question, it's just the ones that strike out to me, so let's start with this one. From Marcel Jovswen. Jokes aside, will Carl Franz and many others get a reworked animations like Archeon did? By the way, we can't vote. Well, that's a thing that they had an issue there in the Discord, sorry about that. And the response was, we aim to improve all of our models from Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2, but I can't speak about animations, for I am not the right person for that. Okay, different department. However, this is good, because Archeon did get a really nice glow up in terms of visually, and well, animations too. There's a lot of models from Game 1 and Game 2 which do kind of need a little bit of a fix, so if that's the aim, this is actually really good. Bring everything in line with Warhammer 3, essentially, so everything looks a bit more uniform, because this game has now been in develop, this series as a whole has been in develop since like, what, 2012? It's like 10 years, and then obviously we had 6 years of content, stuff changing. Yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more of a uniform look. And this was further confirmed once again, which I'm quite happy about. Lux asks, some older characters you wish to revisit in the future, and they just say yes, so they're just not saying which characters, which obviously makes sense, but they're very much intent on revisiting older characters and upgrading them as time goes on. Yeah, this is great. I really do hope they kind of fix Kolek a little bit. He needs to be a bit bigger, but in general there's a few characters that could do with a bit of a glow up. By the way, if you haven't noticed, the community team members are the ones just responding for Naomi. They're just like copy-pasting answers on their behalf. I don't know why this is a thing, but hey. Anyways, this one is quite interesting. So, hi, did you work on Total War 3 Kingdoms? If so, did you take any inspiration from that game when working on units from Cafe? And the response is, we worked in close collaboration with Games Workshop when designing the Cafe units. We consulted with experts on Asian and Chinese history as well. Okay, that's pretty cool. But we did not take inspiration from Total War 3 Kingdoms, and sadly no, I did not have the pleasure of working on that project. I was on Total War Warhammer 3 at the time. So yeah, 3 Kingdoms was out for a while, so they were working on Warhammer 3 for a while, a long time. This is something which is actually quite surprising to me. The other thing is, this is something that I really say in a lot of videos and some people don't believe. Yeah, Games Workshop are very involved with this, because obviously there's the army books and stuff. This is further shown off in the interview, but yeah, they're involved. I do like the fact that they worked on with experts on Asian and Chinese history as well, because if we're going to get in the future, you know, that's going to have to require some people who are experts on, you know, India, or if they're going to work on, like, say, for example, Nippon, they're going to have to work with people who are experts with Japan. I'm actually a big fan of the fact that they're still taking the historical point of view when they're creating races and factions. This is a really good thing, as, yeah, it's something that we know from the historical games. It's just nice to see it in the Warhammer aspect too, as Warhammer was always supposed to be like a fantasy version of our own real world. So this is a thing with some of these questions, so I'm not going to jump in too much because there's a clear misunderstanding. We get a question regarding possible reworks of all the races. I'm not too sure if they're talking about the gameplay instead of the actual models, because Naomi works on the models, right? So you can see in the response, I can't reveal too much, but I will say we are looking into reworking or at least upgrading our older models. Regarding your question, for me it's the Empire. It's the biggest and most awesome faction we have, but it's also one of the oldest. They need a little bit of love. That's in regards, I think, to the actual, yeah, they need to rework, an actual gameplay rework. But most questions here should be focusing really on character art and stuff like that, designing of characters and so on, because, well, you know, a character artist is going to be able to answer on that. That's why a lot of people did ask regarding Chorfs, asking questions about, you know, little hints and stuff, but Naomi's not going to be able to say anything, really, or else they'll get hit by upper management. Though Naomi does say a few mentions of epic and stuff, so hey, here's hoping the DLC is going to be good. Here's a pretty interesting one. How difficult is it to create units for those with either lacking models or ones perhaps not up to par with the rest of the franchise? And the response is, in cases where there are no Games Workshop minis, we work in close collaboration with Games Workshop to design the characters faithful to the lore and style of their faction. There's two things to note here, right? Again, pushing the fact that Games Workshop is quite heavily involved. Second thing is characters is everything. So it's not just characters, it's units too. Characters is just the generic term for like everything, because everything is essentially a character. But yeah, again, Games Workshop are very, very involved. This is something that might not be so interesting to you guys, but is to me, because I like hearing that Games Workshop is involved, clearly, because this is a Warhammer fantasy game. I like seeing that they're just really on the nose with this. So this next question might be quite interesting for those wanting to get into actual game design, working with a studio and so on. So hello, wanted to ask, because I was honestly curious about this, is part of your onboarding process for new artists new unit variations? The onboarding process for new artists varies on their level of ability. For example, the process won't be the same for a senior character artist as that of a graduate character artist. Senior character artists usually start from the deep end immediately, okay? They're assigned to a character to work on. A graduate character artist could potentially be assigned unit variations or regiments of renown type of work, but this too depends on skill level. Whichever the case, we always want to make sure that the new member of our team feels welcome and that they find the work enjoyable rather than overwhelming. Okay, yeah, this makes sense. You know, regiments of renown are usually the easiest thing to work on. Even modders say that because it's just getting the base model and just adding a few things here and there. And I kind of like that. I honestly actually really do like that. Again, maybe more interesting to those people who actually want to work in games, but I do know a bunch of my viewers do want to work in game design or are just going to get started. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that just in case. Again, some more context regarding Games Workshop, which again, I love to hear. So the question is, what is your favorite source of inspiration for these units? Do you like looking at GW models, or do you prefer the army books and artwork? We use both, actually. If official Games Workshop models exist, we use those for inspiration. Otherwise, we rely on the army books and official illustrations. And of course, a close collaboration with Games Workshop. They are always very happy to help us out and guide the concepts for our characters. Through this collaboration, we can ensure that the characters will be as faithful to the lore as possible. So the perfect example for this would perhaps be the Slaanesh Chosen and the Slaanesh Warriors, as they're stuff that we've never really had. Keep in mind that the Chaos Warriors were just one box and that's it. You just have to paint them different colors, but we've got like dedicated helmets for the Chosen and stuff. Yeah, that was really, really cool. Obviously, Cathay and Kislev too, as their army books are... Well, we know that army books exist now, but back then I'm assuming that army books just didn't exist and Games Workshop were just provided very basic concepts of the units that would eventually show up on the tabletop. Now, this question is really, really interesting. Hello Naomi, how many artists work with you on a DLC like the Chorfs? Is there a specific model made by someone in your team that you'd like to highlight for us? We currently have 11 artists on the team and every one of them is a dedicated and talented person. It would be very hard to pick one person to highlight. I would suggest instead looking for Total War Warhammer 3 official artwork on ArtStation. Okay, yeah, fair enough. All of them are actually quite good. We've seen a lot of really talented models in that game now. But the fact is, 11 artists on the team, that's quite a lot for a DLC team, which makes me think that they're trying to get art done quite quickly. That's a lot of people, you know. I don't know what the average generally is, but we do know obviously that they plan to do 3 DLCs this year, so yeah, they need quite a lot of people. I would love to know how many other people are in the team. It's not just like the artists too, because for example, the artists would be separated by unit design, environment design, all that type of stuff, but also balancing, just in general, mechanically, QA. It would be good just to know in general, but I imagine that these things do tend to be quite quiet. So not too much to talk about. In fact, there were a lot of questions that weren't answered, but a lot of people were asking questions about like the DLC, which Naomi can't obviously speak about because NDAs are still a thing, but I feel like some good context was provided with the actual nature of Games Workshop's relationship with CA. It's really, really important. Overall, for me, I think the most important thing is that the 11 artists in the team, I think that's actually really, really good. It's nice to hear, because you do hear some horror stories of some other companies where a artist is stuck behind all the art behind the DLC, right? And that's not the case here. There's a lot of hints regarding the Chaos Dwarves. You know, the word epic has been thrown around. Just in general, there's a lot of, oh yeah, this is going to be pretty hype, just without saying what it is. I'm hoping it's a good DLC. I'm really, really hoping it's a good DLC. But yeah, overall, what do you guys think about this? I like the transparency. I like rally point interviews. I think they're really good for the community. Here's hoping we don't have to wait too long for another one, but so far so good. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's have a bit of a discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.